One of the biggest questions we get on the Naked Marriage podcast and here at XO is, what do you do when one spouse has a much higher sex drive than the other spouse? And this is a source of frustration in so many marriages. And it's not a gender-specific issue. I think sometimes stereotypically you think that it's only the man who has a higher drive, but we hear from both men and from women who say, I have a much higher drive than my spouse. What do I do with that? It's creating a lot of tension in the marriage.
It is a huge issue, and it can cause a lot of fights, it can cause a lot of resentment. And so what do we do with this? And the first thing I would say is sex is really about serving one another. Like, we've got to understand that. It's about trying to meet your spouse's needs. And so when it comes to sex specifically, for the one that has the higher drive, if both of you can try to have sex more regularly so that person is not, really opening themselves up to temptation, then that is ideal. Now, this does not give the spouse with a higher drive license to just tell their spouse, well, David and Ashley said we need to do it as much as I want to do it, and so let's do that. That would be really unkind and disrespectful, because the marriage bed needs to be the safest and most respectful place in your home and in your marriage. And so you need to talk about these things.
Yeah, communication is huge. If you want a better sex life, it always begins with communication. But like Ashley said, communicate in a way that's not demanding your own way. It's not saying, I demand this. You're the only place on earth where I can get this need met, and you're not meeting it for me, and you're you. If you're pointing that finger saying you are doing something wrong, it's going to immediately put tension in the relationship. And so like Ashley said, it's about serving one another. It's about saying, how can I serve your needs and meet your needs, whatever they are, inside or outside the bedroom. Maybe your spouse has a higher need for communication than you have. Maybe that's where their primary drive is. You meet that need. Communicate as much as they want to communicate. Yeah. But coming back to the sex thing, be sensitive, be specific about what you desire, be really encouraging and not condemning, but really encouraging about all the things that you love about that beautiful moment of lovemaking with you. Like, I want to connect with you in this way. Right. It's not just about meeting a physical need for me. It makes me feel so close to you. It makes me feel connected to you. And I desire to do that more often. And what would it look like? How could we get to a place where we can do that more often? And perhaps the lower drive person has a lower drive for reasons that are treatable. Yeah. We've talked about medical issues, hormonal issues, which both of us have had at different points in the marriage. And you've got to be proactive to seek out medical care, to seek out whatever it is that's going to help regulate your drives. Don't just say, well, I'm not feeling it, and so because I'm not feeling it, it's not something that we're going to do. But instead say, sex is a vital part to a healthy marriage, and I want to do everything in my power, medically or otherwise, to make sure that we can be at our best for each other.
It's so true. And I would just remind you that a great sex life doesn't begin in the bedroom. It really begins through the conversations that you have, through having what we like to refer to as the naked marriage, being vulnerable and being open and honest with each other, sharing your heart with each other, having no part of your life that is closed off from your spouse, because that is where real intimacy begins. And so if you feel like your spouse is never wanting to connect physically, I would just venture to ask you, when was the last time you had a heart-to-heart conversation with your spouse? Because if you haven't in a long time, I would start today. Go to them, use a lot of I statements like, I am feeling this way, and what can I do to help you, and really open up to each other. And I promise you, over time, you will find that there is more desire there and a better connection.
Yeah, that's so true. And one last kind of very practical tip that we've talked about, don't be afraid to schedule it. Like, if you think it's a healthy number you can agree on, to say, let's aim to make love, at least twice a week. Pick 2 nights on the calendar and say, you know what, Monday nights and Friday nights, we're circling those days, and we're saying we're going to do everything in our power to make time to make love on those days, and to get ourselves in the mindset that, it's Monday, you know what that means, it's going to be a good night. And that doesn't mean you can't be spontaneous other times of the week, but when you know that it's kind of built into the schedule, nearly everything in our life that's important we schedule to some degree. And that might seem unromantic to you, but it's also just being really, really practical. And for that spouse with the higher drive, knowing that, it's almost Friday or it's almost Monday, that's going to help them, I think, and potentially save you both, a lot of frustration.
It's so true. If you want to know more about this, please go to xomarriage.com and check out all kinds of articles that we have about this. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this one. We'll see you guys next time.